At a cremation ground in Sonipat, India, a traditional Hindu funeral is underway. The pyre is built, the wood is stacked, and the fire is burning. But the person orchestrating these final rites isn't holding a ceremonial torch. They are holding a phone, broadcasting the cremation over a video call. On the other end of that call is the deceased man's daughter, and as she watches her father burn, she is complaining to the ashram workers about how long the fire is taking. She tells them to hurry up. She has to bathe, cook, and get on with her daily chores. The man on the pyre is 74-year-old Ram Ratan Gupta. He was not an absent or neglectful parent. Over decades, he raised 3 daughters, sent them to good schools, put them through college, and funded their weddings. This map shows exactly where those 3 daughters live today. One is in Mumbai, one in Azamgarh, and one in Kathmandu, Nepal. Whether by short flight, train, or road, any of these cities is less than 24 hours away from the crematorium in Sonipat. Their absence is a logistical choice. Ram Ratan spent the majority of his adult life working to secure his daughters' futures. Yet, when it came time to lay him to rest, not one of them could spare a single day to attend his funeral. We often tell ourselves that modern life is simply too busy, but this excuse of having no time allows us to rationalize something deeply unsettling: the reduction of a parent's final moments on Earth to a digital checklist, completed through a screen so we can get back to our chores. To understand how a father ends up dying alone, we have to look at how his family dynamic shifted. For years, Ram Ratan ran a successful clothing business in Mumbai. He was the provider. But when his business collapsed and he lost his wealth, his utility to his family vanished almost overnight. Without an income, Ram Ratan and his wife moved in with one of their daughters in Mumbai. The arrangement didn't last long. Feeling like an unwanted burden in the home he helped make possible, Ram Ratan quietly packed up and took his wife to an old age home, an ashram in Haryana. Living in an ashram takes a heavy psychological toll, especially when you have 3 capable children living comfortably elsewhere. For Ram Ratan's wife, the shame and isolation of being discarded were too much to bear. She quickly fell ill. A year and a half ago, her illness caught up with her. The ashram staff called the daughters to warn them that their mother was dying. None of them came to say goodbye. When she passed away, the daughters gave the same reason they would later give for their father: they had no time. Ram Ratan, aging and heartbroken, carried his wife's body to the cremation ground and performed her final rites entirely alone. That day set a terrifying precedent. By abandoning their mother, the daughters established a clear behavioral pattern. Ram Ratan knew right then exactly how his own life was going to end. Fast forward to a few weeks ago. Ram Ratan's own health failed. Over 20 days of severe illness, the ashram staff repeatedly called the daughters, warning them that the end was near. The daughters consistently refused to visit. When he finally died, the ashram called one last time, offering to keep his body in a hospital freezer so the family could travel. The daughters declined. Instead, they pooled their money and sent exactly 5,100 rupees, about $60, via mobile transfer to cover the cost of his disposal. But they still wanted to observe religious customs, so they mandated that the ashram staff live stream the cremation. They wanted the spiritual credit of attending a funeral without the physical inconvenience of actually being there. The transactional nature of this process extended even after the fire burned out. Gathering and scattering the ashes in the Ganges is a deeply important Hindu rite. The daughters refused to collect them, instructing the ashram's social workers to throw the ashes away on their behalf. Then came the final indignity. Knowing he was dying, Ram Ratan had explicitly requested to donate all of his organs, but medical protocol requires a family member's consent. Because signing off on a full body donation requires extensive paperwork, the daughters blocked it. They allowed doctors to take only his eyes, solely to minimize their own administrative hassle. We often celebrate technology for connecting us. Here, a video call and a mobile payment didn't bridge the physical gap between a family. It provided a highly convenient loophole for children to legally and socially outsource their basic humanity. It is easy to look at Ram Ratan's daughters and dismiss them as cruel anomalies, But the data reveals that this specific brand of abandonment is actually a symptom of a massive, rapidly growing sociological crisis. This chart visualizes the demographic reality of India today, home to roughly 130 million elderly citizens. But filtering this down, a highly vulnerable subset emerges. Over 100,000 elderly citizens have been completely exiled from their families, left in institutional ashrams. Sociologists refer to this behavior as transactional grief. It occurs when a society begins to view its elderly purely through an economic lens. Once a parent stops generating wealth or providing childcare, they are reclassified as obsolete burdens. When adult children boldly claim that they simply have no time to bury their parents, it is a convenient, hollow lie. It is an excuse that masks a deep societal shift toward hyper-individualism, where human relationships are entirely disposable once they stop being useful. There is one biological truth that no amount of wealth or technology can bypass. Today's youth are guaranteed to become the elderly of tomorrow. The generation that normalizes this digital apathy is quietly writing its own future. By teaching children that it's acceptable to discard aging relatives, they set the very precedent that will inevitably be used against them. Despite his daughter's aggressive attempts to block his final wishes, Ram Ratan's selfless eye donation was ultimately successful. Today, 2 completely blind strangers have officially received those donated corneas, and their sight has been miraculously restored. It is a hauntingly beautiful final legacy. The strangers who received Ram Ratan's eyes will ultimately view the world with far more clarity and humanity than his daughters ever did.